Hello and welcome to Films and That. My name's Rob Turnbull.
And my name's Sam Hall.
And today, Sam, what are we looking at?
Sholay. Don't know why I looked at you then, sorry.
Sholay.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to do that again?
Sure.
Hello and welcome to Films and That. My name's Rob Turnbull.
A defining classic of Bollywood cinema, Sholay sent shockwaves around India, transforming the industry for all time. Sholay combines action, comedy, melodrama and music to create a lasting piece of epic Hindi cinema.
This review contains spoilers. The main character is Gabbar Singh, who's a policeman.
Well, I'd say he's one of the three main characters, isn't he? The whole thing is motivated by him, isn't it? The plot is driven by him. But the heroes of the film are Viru and Jay.
Who are two thieves.
Yeah.
Thieves and criminals that Thakur has busted for some kind of crime in the past. And the first scene, pretty much, is him reliving this kind of how they escaped from him last time.
And if you watch that scene, I think it's as good as any other action scene from that era, in a Hollywood sense. You know, there's a great bit when I think it's Viru. I think he rolls or something, and then points his gun and fires it at a guy on top of the train. And it's just such a well choreographed action sequence, you know. But yeah, it's great, like explosive introduction, isn't it, to the themes of the film and the characters. And
it also introduces you to the theme of scenes running on for way too long, because that scene goes on forever.
For a flashback scene, yeah.
But this is the thing with Bollywood films. I get the impression that they're there to provide a kind of a lot of escapism for a lot of different people.
It's like you get a B movie and an A movie in one.
Yeah,
it's like they're two movies.
Well, they call it Masala, don't they? Which is like the mix of the spices. So so it's got the romance in it. It's got the kind of silliness to it. It's got really epic bits, because this film is kind of inspired by great old westerns like Once Upon a Time in the West and things like that.
Oh yeah, you can see the Leone influence throughout. But it's not as sort of slow and measured as Leone is. It's not as... It's epic, but in a different kind of way, I'd say. There's more emphasis on the action and the silliness, you know what I mean?
There's a bit when both Viru and Jai, they're in like a motorcycle sidecar thing that they've stolen.
It's a great scene.
They're singing this song about how much they love each other. And it's really interesting to see that in the same film with kind of torture scenes.
Yes, there's torture scenes, there's everything.
Yeah.
There's a few, there are some moral messages, you know, but like you don't have to get bogged down in that. I think this is probably one of the few examples of something we've done on Films and That that's just goes straight out for fun. I mean, I don't think we mentioned the director yet or anything like that. Do you know? I haven't read up on him at all, I'm afraid. Apart from that, he's got his own production company.
Yeah. Well, what I know about him, he's got a famous dad in the industry, G.P Sippy.
Are you doing because we haven't said his name yet?
Oh yeah. Start that again.
Yeah. Okay. So it was directed by Ramesh Sippy, but we don't know anything about him. Do we? We don't. Do we? This is sometimes sort of thought of as the Indian Star Wars, not because that has anything to do with sci-fi or anything like that, but because it was this film that sort of relaunched and rebranded cinema in India.
Do you know much about Bollywood cinema? Do you know kind of?
I've seen two, Rob.
Yeah.
So no, no, I don't. I know that Bollywood cinema is not the whole of India. You know, I know that there's so many different studios and different styles. Even film school people watch a lot of subtitled films, but Bollywood never comes up.
Which is weird. Which is weird, because if you go by the amount of films that are produced and the amount of people that are employed, it's the biggest industry in the world for films.
Yeah.
Much bigger
or
than
among
Hollywood.
them. Yeah, I think China's sort of really competitive now. What's the central plot then?
It's basically Seven Samurai, isn't it? Or Magnificent Seven, probably more.
But two samurai.
Two samurai.
Yeah.
Thakur, he has a past backstory, and he wants to get revenge on this bandit, basically, who's been threatening his village.
Yes, Darth Vader. Gabbar Singh.
He's a great villain as well.
Very distinctive look. He's got these distinctive sideburns, bizarre haircut, and he's like a very, very typical villain. You know, very evil.
He is disturbing, and that was something that surprised me from this. I was like, because you start off with this whole melodramatic moments and stuff like that, because you don't see Gabbar until about an hour into the film.
Yeah, up until that, it's largely comedy subplots, isn't it?
Yeah. There's even a scene in a prison which has no relevance to anything.
I think that's just referencing other films. I think it's as if they're just going, look at the other films we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's very funny.
With an Indian Hitler.
Yeah. The Indian great dictator-inspired Hitler, you know, the Charlie Chaplin film. And you can see Charlie Chaplin. It's almost to T, really, isn't it? There's even a scene when he's leaning on a globe.
Yeah.
Even though he's a jailer.
Yeah.
You know, they're not subtle about this reference at all. You know, there's only one way you can read that.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to when you finally do meet Gabbar, the film completely changes for me, I think. You start to see these really kind of elongated torture scenes of him, because the first one we see is when he's playing Russian roulette with his men, and then they all survive and he just shoots them anyway. Yeah. Really setting up his character as just a bastard.
Yeah. Talking of characters, a lot of people that talk about this film talk about how recognisable the characters are and memorable. The main love interest, Basanti, she's quite a distinctive character. She's got her own Millennium Falcon. Stroke horse and cart. For films of that time, you know, she's quite a fairly strong character. Because she's rescuing the hero as well.
Constantly as well, yeah.
Yeah. She does have flaws as a character, but it's not the sort of standard female character that you would expect in a Western film, maybe. But then again, you know, she's pressured into going out with him because he threatened to commit suicide, so there is that. Yeah,
he does also pretend to be God at one point.
Yeah.
To tell and says, go out with me.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect well on him.
No.
But apparently she's very forgiving.
तो हम क्रोधित हो जाएंगे।
अच्छा।
इसलिए जा।
There aren't that many dance numbers as I would have expected, actually.
Yeah, there are a few. There's one about the Holy Day. Just a song and dance number completely unrelated about Holy Day.
But then I like how that's kind of starkly contrasted to, you know, Gabbar Singh attacking them and killing people. It's just like literally they're all singing and dancing 1 minute and then they're all dying.
It does. And they still build up to these things.
Thakur is forced into a position where there's a gun at his feet, but he doesn't pick it up to kill the other person.
I wonder why. Spoilers.
And then they confront him a minute later.
And again, like you said, the longest flashback scene.
Yeah.
Yet another incredibly long flashback scene. Could be the longest flashback scene in film history.
Yeah. Like 20 minutes or something.
Because it starts out, it's just when he met Gabbar and captured him. And about the trial they go on about. And then this, the big reveal, which is that Gabbar killed his family. Which so obviously brings it quite low.
That is a pretty heavy moment as well, isn't it?
But that should have been the moment that it ended. But then the flashback has this extra bit that, like I said today, makes you feel like it's a bit silly, you know, difficult to take it seriously.
Oh yeah, because they confront him as to why he didn't pick up the gun.
Yeah.
He's like, oh wow, I've got no arms.
I mean, at that point, I just thought he was just wearing a coat all the way through.
Did you?
I just thought, I didn't think of anything of it. I thought that was just his look. But then when he didn't pick up the gun, I'm like, okay. It's obvious now. Why he wears that coat.
I was the opposite. As the very first scene that he's wearing that coat, I was like, oh, he's got no arms, has he?
Okay, I didn't think to pick that up.
मुझे बस इतना ही पूछना था शुक्रिया डॉक्टर साहब
When you see him as well, he's obviously just got his arms like this because his torso is really big.
But that does, at the same time, though, that leads on to a really great epilogue, right, or climax in the third act, which is the big fight against Gabbar Singh.
It's this kind of serious and meaningful moment, but it just comes off quite goofy because he just drop kicks him all the time.
But it's still a cool scene. I know he drop kicks him and stuff, but it's just something you don't see very often.
It's quite imaginative,
maybe because it's kind of goofy, but at the same time, because you don't see that often, you're almost forgiving of it, because you can still find enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Even if it is kind of goofy. If it wasn't what it was for Bollywood, and it was we were watching, say if it was made in the West, and we were looking back on it with the kind of films that we have now, we would look on it as like a good bad film.
I think that depends, because there are some moments that are well made though.
And I'm not saying it's a bad film, but it's just it's absurd.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are absurd moments, but I think it knows that. It knows that certain things are meant to be silly.
Well, yeah, when you've got an Indian Hitler.
Yeah. Well, even things like he does a wheelie at one point and there's like a slide whistle. So like you wouldn't put that in if you weren't like taking the piss out of yourself, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But then that also contrasts the really brutal moments of like when Basanti is forced to dance on broken glass.
There is a lot of creativity in this. It's not necessarily just a story that we've heard a million times over here. I mean, we have, because it's got a bit of a monomyth thing to it. But there is a lot that you just, no one's ever picked up in the West, And for that, you get more enjoyment out of it. Because you've not seen it a million times.
So, Sam, what did you think of Sholay?
Okay, I know I said good bad film.
Can we do that again?
Oh yeah, okay.
I forgot the name of it.
All right. I know I said like a good bad film, but I don't mean I think it's a bad film. What I mean is it's so absurd, that it's almost difficult to comprehend for what it was and when it was released and that. I think there's quite a lot to enjoy. The action is great. The choreography is great. It's cine literate. Westerns. It's inspired by Western cinema as well. As having its own cultural aspects, it's just a great mishmash, and I really like that. It's also one you can just kick back and enjoy. There's probably moments you're like, yeah, can we just
move on?
Yeah, it's just a bit long.
I'd recommend you watch it in two halves actually.
Okay,
when the intermission happens, you may kind of go away and come back to it. And there's definitely a B movie quality to it, which is probably what you meant about the good bad thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you've got to see it for what it is. You can't go into it thinking it's going to be a coherent narrative. It's not going to be either a love story or a kind of epic tale. It's going to be both and everything, and it's not going to flow that well, I think.
Did you like it anyway?
I did really like it. It's the best Bollywood film I've seen. I've also seen two. What was your favourite dance number?
Oh,
was it the motorcycle thing?
There's not a lot of dancing in that bit.
Well, the song thing.
Oh no, that's my favourite song.
Yeah.
By miles. That's the best song by miles.
Well, the music, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that one.
That is the best song by miles. Ye Dosati. It's great.
It's not like Holly Holiday.
No. That was silly.
Okay, that's it for this time on Films on That. Thanks for watching and subscribing. We'll see you next time.
Bye.